Some players are remembered for goals, others for titles, but a rare few are remembered for what they meant. Roberto Baggio was one of those rare few, a player whose story was woven from grace, pain, genius, and heartbreak. A footballer who inspired not just admiration, but devotion. A man who turned suffering into poetry and left a mark on football deeper than any trophy could measure. Born on February 18, 1967, in Caldogno, a small town in northern Italy, Roberto Baggio was the sixth of 8 children in a modest Catholic family. From a young age he played with flair and joy, dribbling past older kids on dusty fields like a dancer gliding across a stage. But Baggio wasn't just talented, he was transcendent. Coaches spoke of a boy who played as if he already knew the ending of every match. At 15, he joined Vicenza. At 17, he had already scored over 100 goals in youth competitions. Fiorentina took notice and signed him, but just as his dream took flight, disaster struck. In 1985, at 18, Baggio suffered a devastating knee injury, a torn ACL and meniscus. Most believed his career was over before it began. The pain was so severe the doctors initially suggested amputation. Instead, Baggio chose surgery. He underwent a complicated reconstruction with 220 stitches and months of agony ahead. During this period, he began studying Buddhism, a faith that gave him strength, inner peace, and the will to fight. He once said, "Without my conversion to Buddhism, I would have stopped playing football." He returned, and when he did, Italy took notice. At Fiorentina, Baggio became a god. The fans adored his elegance, his control, his vision. He played like few ever had, with a painter's eye and a warrior's heart. His free kicks curled like whispers, his dribbles left defenders lost, and his humility made him beloved even beyond Florence. In 1990, after fierce controversy, he was sold to Juventus for then a record sum. Fiorentina fans rioted in the streets, and when Baggio refused to wear the Juve scarf at his unveiling, people saw it as proof of his loyalty. But on the field, he delivered. Despite injury after injury, he continued to shine, scoring sublime goals, creating magic, and earning the Ballon d'Or in 1993. That same year, he led Juventus to UEFA Cup glory, scoring twice in the final. He was now considered the best in the world. And with the 1994 World Cup in the USA approaching, Italy placed all its hopes on Baggio's shoulders. The tournament would define him. In the group stage, he was quiet. Critics doubted. But then, the real Baggio appeared. In the round of 16 against Nigeria, Italy were trailing 0-1 with minutes to go. Baggio scored the equalizer, then a cold-blooded penalty in extra time. Against Spain, he scored the winner. Against Bulgaria, another brace. He had dragged Italy to the final, despite torn hamstrings and a damaged knee. Then came July 17, 1994, the World Cup final, Brazil versus Italy. 120 minutes of tension ended goalless. Penalty shootout. Baggio stepped up, Italy's last hope. The world held its breath. He ran up, struck. The ball soared. Over the bar. Silence. Baggio stood still, his face blank. No tears, no excuses. Just an ocean of heartbreak captured in a single image. The divine ponytail, staring into the void. That moment, more than any other, became part of football's collective memory. Some mocked, some sympathized, but most understood, greatness isn't perfection, it's grace in the face of despair, and Baggio, in that moment, embodied it more than anyone. He returned to club football but was never the same physically. Juventus began building around new stars. Baggio left for AC Milan in 1995, winning the Scudetto in his first season. But again, injury haunted him. He was in and out of the team, Then came Bologna, where he had one of the most astonishing comebacks in Serie A history, scoring 22 goals in a single season. That earned him a spot at Inter Milan, but politics and injury once again stifled his flame. He clashed with coaches, was left out of key matches, and was eventually dropped from the national team, a decision many fans saw as an insult. Yet Baggio didn't stop. He kept playing, kept creating, kept inspiring. In 2000, he moved to Brescia, a small club with big dreams. There, in the twilight of his career, Baggio played with the joy of a child and the wisdom of a sage. He guided Brescia to their best ever finishes, mentored young players, and scored wonder goals until his final season. In 2004, at 34, Roberto Baggio retired. When he left the field for the last time, the entire stadium stood, not just his own fans, but the opponents too. Even referees applauded. The football world said goodbye, not just to a player, but to a soul. Baggio didn't chase fame after retirement. He lived quietly, with his family, in the countryside. He farmed, he hunted, he raised animals. When asked why he disappeared, he smiled. "I gave everything I had to football. Now I just want peace." But his legend only grew. To many, he remained the most beloved player Italy had ever produced. He was never defined by medals or stats, though his numbers were impressive. He was defined by how he made people feel. He was the boy who came back from the brink of amputation, the Buddhist who played with divine serenity, the genius who scored with poetry and missed with dignity, the man who wore his wounds like armor and turned pain into beauty. Roberto Baggio wasn't just a footballer. He was a lesson that even in failure there can be glory, that the most human of players can still become immortal. And when people speak of football as art, they speak of him, the divine ponytail, forever flawed, forever beautiful, forever unforgettable.